Hello, hello. Happy Monday, everybody. I am really, really excited to be on with everybody tonight because it has been a hot minute. And when I say a hot minute, I mean several weeks that I have been able to truly pause on a Monday night and log on. So for those of you that don't know me, my name is Mina Luke. I am a senior gold ambassador with this team, and I have been with this team, holy cannoli, for 8 years. Um, and I love seeing a lot of new faces popping on because this is where the magic happens. Logging on, connecting on Monday nights. This is how I became best friends with an Italian girl, holy cannoli. This is how some of my very best friends don't even live in where I'm from New Jersey, don't even live here in New Jersey. They live all over the country, and I have met through doing this journey, through saying yes to a pink drink and for giving it a try when I was really, really skeptical. But that's not what I wanted to talk to you about tonight. I'm going to preface because those of you that do know me have never seen me do a Zoom from my bedroom. But so for those of you that don't know, we just moved my family about 2 weeks ago. So there are boxes everywhere. Can't even access my office. So we are Zooming from the bedroom. So there's still Hot Mess Express behind me. But I had said yes to doing the Zoom, and it was very easy for me yesterday when Bree was like, you got a lot going on. You want me to do it? And I was like, no, because I said yes, and we're not about excuses, because excuses only sound good to the person giving them. Let me say that one more time. Excuses only sound good to the person giving them. People receiving them, they don't care about your excuses. So, what I wanted to share with you were actually two things that, because I really had no idea. I messaged Brie like a week ago and I was like, hey, I'm supposed to be doing the Zoom and, things, and I don't know what I'm going to talk about. And she's like, just talk about what's on your heart. And I'm like, my heart? My heart's a hot mess right now because there's so much life going on. And if you can relate to that, if you can relate to a whole lot of life going on, please drop a one in the comments, or in the comments, in the chat, because that's what I feel like no matter where we are, whether you just moved a family of six, whether you just started a new job, whether your kids are driving you crazy, whether you're at a job that you hate and you want to scream at your boss, whatever life is going on, it is crazy. But I got news for you. It was crazy yesterday, and it's still going to be crazy tomorrow. Nothing is going to change unless you change. So if you don't like the circumstances that you are in, then let me say it again. Nothing is going to change unless you change. You have to change to make those circumstances shift. And those circumstances can shift. And that's kind of what I want to talk to you about tonight. A little over a year ago, I want to say it was a little over a year ago. I don't remember exactly when. I was watching a movie. And for those of you that don't know, I am a Jesus person and I am very bold about being a Jesus person. So you may feel a little bit of church tonight, and I hope you don't mind. And if you do mind, I'm going to pray for you and love on you anyway. But we're going to have some church here tonight because a little over a year ago, I was watching a movie, and in the movie, there was a teenage boy who was driving the mom absolute bonkers. I believe she was a single mom in the movie, and Priscilla Schreier played in it. The movie is called The Forge, and if you have not watched, I strongly encourage every mama to watch it. Um, and in The Forge, the son is driving the mama bonkers and really just not living his life for the Lord. And the mom was just praying and praying over her son. And slowly things start to shift in her son's life, and he really becomes into a man. I want to say he's like 18. He's out of high school. He's not a high school kid. But what I remember most about that movie, and it hit me this weekend on Saturday, and I told you I could go longer than 10, 15 minutes without slides. Um, was that I remember watching that movie and I remember crying because for those of you that don't know, I have a son. He is special needs and I love my son to death. But it is hard being a special needs mama sometimes. And it is hard being a special needs mama to a teenage boy a lot of times. And we were in a season a little over a year ago where I constantly felt like it was just, I didn't know if it was the disability, if it was the male hormones, or if it was just the age, but it was hard. And it was hard a lot. And I remember watching this movie going, man, I just wish that I could have a shift like that in my son. And like most times when we watch a movie or we say a prayer, life goes on, right? And we forget about it. And I forgot about it until Saturday. Because on Saturday, and I'm going to get emotional, I dropped my son off at church. The same son who a little over a year ago was giving me really hard times. Not that he doesn't anymore, but there was a shift in my son because back it up in February when we were on the cruise, many of us were on the cruise earned by Plexus. My son went on his very first retreat with a church youth group. Now, this youth group is the same youth group that I had to ground my son from his phone if he refused to go because he needed something to do and he needed to socialize. And when you're autistic, it's really, really hard to socialize. So we would force him to go to youth group. And if he didn't go, we would punish him. There were consequences and he wouldn't have his phone because that was the only thing he cared about. So it got to the point where he started wanting to go. And then he asked to go on this youth retreat in February. And in February, while many of us were on the ship in the middle of the sea, my son made a commitment to live his life for Jesus. And since that time, he has gone on a missions trip, actually two missions trips, one local, one to Georgia. And this past weekend, he went on his second youth retreat. On Saturday morning, I dropped him off at the church and I watched him get on the van. And mind you, we had to be the first ones in the parking lot because he was so excited to go. So, why do I bring this all up with a movie called The Forge that I watched a little over a year ago? Because when I watched that movie, I prayed that my son would have a shift in him, like the shift that I saw in the character in the movie. And this Saturday, it was laid on my heart that God had answered that prayer. So, friends, here comes the church part. Y'all ready? The prayers that you are praying now, if you fully believe in those prayers, if you believe that the mission that God has laid on your heart to share a pink drink, to share health and happiness, to share the hope that you found, then I promise you, those prayers are going to be answered. It may come in a month. It may come in 6 months. It may come in a year. It may come in 6 years. But those prayers are going to be answered. And when you look back, you're going to say, oh my Lord, I remember when I was wishing for that back then. I remember that what I was wishing for, and it was so hard, and it was a dark season that I was in, and I was getting all of the no's or all of the ghosting. And now today I'm walking on stage as an emerald. I promise you that those prayers, if it is in alignment with his plan for you, they are going to be answered. Now, was it an easy peasy lemon squeezy jump from me watching The Forge to me taking him to church on Saturday? Heck to the no. Bree can tell you because I call her screaming and crying many, many a times. Nikki can tell you because as a fellow autistic mama, she knows, and her and I have had many, many cries over the time. But that doesn't mean that your yes isn't coming. And I'll tell you something, sometimes those tears that you shed along the way, sometimes the frustrations that you feel along the way, sometimes the fears and the doubts, if you didn't feel them, would the yes that you get tomorrow matter as much to you? It is the tears and the frustrations and the fears and the doubts and the imposter syndromes and all the things that you feel today that make what's going to come tomorrow that much more sweet. The other thing I want to share with you, and I have to open up my message because I messaged it to Bree so that I wouldn't forget. So that was on my heart, and I was like, I gotta share this. And then this morning, I was talking to a friend of mine at work, and side note, squirrel moment, um, don't stop sharing Plexus with everybody and anybody because I've been sharing Plexus with this sweet friend, and she's actually going to order this week. She can't come to my event that I'm having on Saturday, but she's going to place an order this week. But she was so excited to tell me that on Friday after work, a neighbor called her up and they got together for some drinks. And she was like, Mina, I was telling her all about my new friend at work and how you're always so positive and that I'm gonna start ordering these vitamins that and my friend looked at me and she goes, oh, I know her, Mina. And I looked at her and was like, how on earth do you know her? Because where she lives is not even anywhere near where we work. They're a good 45 minutes away. And I said, oh, she knows me? And she said, yeah, Mina, she knew your name was Mina and she knew your name was Gelsomina. She said, how do you know everybody? And my friend looked at me and said, yeah, she sells that pink drink, Plexus. I order it from her. So there you go. So don't stop sharing because it's a very small world. But squirrel moment over. What I wanted to share with you with this was she told me a story about her son, how this past November, so almost a year ago, her son is early 20s, I think 21, 22, and he was working at Bed Bath and Beyond or something like that. And on Black Friday, he called out and she looked at him and said, are you crazy? You can't call out of work on Black Friday when you work in retail. And he said, Mom, stop thinking like a poor person. He called out because he is also an entrepreneur who sells. I forget what exactly he works with. It's not network marketing. It's something else, but he sells something with technology. And she said, Mina, don't you know over the next couple of weeks in November, he made about $15,000. And I said, and there was a lot more to the story, but what stood out to me, because I even said to her, I'm like, what did he say to you? She said, he told me to stop thinking like a poor person, that he had a plan. And so this is what I want to say to you. So many times, now maybe your family is anything like my family. But I know my family, when I mention Plexus to them or I mention my dreams and my goals, and I'm not talking my immediate family. My husband is very supportive, my mom is very supportive, the kids are supportive. I'm talking about that extended family, the holiday dinner family. The family that looks at you like, "Oh, you're in one of those. Oh, you do that pyramid thing. Oh, you sell vitamins? I get mine from Walgreens." You keep pushing through because you were not called here to think like a poor person. They are thinking like a poor person. You were called to have a higher mentality. You were called to step outside of the comfort. You were not called to live in line with what everybody else does and don't call out on Black Friday because we can't call out on Black Friday when we work retail. That kid had a plan. He knew exactly what he was doing. He was like, I'm not going to live my life just working for somebody else's dollar. I'm going to make my own dollar. Hear that again. You have a choice. You can work your life for somebody else's dollar, or you can make your own dollar. And I'm not knocking anybody that says, no, I want to stay here because this is comfortable. That's fine. But That's not where the magic is going to happen. That's not where those dreams and those goals are going to come true. That's not where the prayers that you're praying today and you're thinking that they're going to come true tomorrow, they're not going to come true tomorrow if you keep living like a poor person. And if you keep thinking like a poor person. And if you keep having that poor person's mentality. So let's bring it all back together and let's connect it to plexus, okay? If you want a diamond paycheck, then you best start showing up like a diamond. If you want that 6-figure or 7-figure paycheck, then you can't sit there and watch Netflix and scroll and watch all those Instagram reels. And trust me, I get it. I get sucked into the Instagram reels world too. And I like to share them with all my friends because some of them are funny and we all connect to them. But you know what? In the end, that's not adding to my points on my back office. I can justify it all I want. Well, I worked hard today. I dealt with all the kiddos at school and then my principal and then this. That's great. Excuses only sound good to the person giving them. So, what's on your heart, what you're praying for today will absolutely come true if it is in line with his plan for your life. And I believe that if you are here, it is in line with his plan because I don't think that you would be here otherwise. But it's only going to happen if you're willing to put in the work, if you're willing to step out of your comfort zone, if you're willing to show up like a diamond and stop thinking like a poor person. I hope each and every one of you has an amazing week. We have two weeks left, right? Hold on. Yeah, exactly 2 weeks left of October. So do not count October out. Don't go, oh, it's already the 20th. I guess I'm done. I'll just wait till November. No. Lululemon gift cards are still out there for you to claim. My husband is convinced because he heard Bree's October launch call that we're now selling Lululemon. I just let him go with it. He literally was like, wait a minute, is Plexus selling Lululemon now too? I said, yes, Larry, they are. You should start selling some. And then he laughed at me because I happened to walk away from the call and I left my phone in the bedroom. So he listened to Bree's call. So he said, you're not going to be selling any Lululemon. Apparently, only I am because I heard Bree's call and I said, okay. So anyway, I we can stop recording, Bree, and then I will open up if anybody has any questions.